Right, hello everyone, and welcome to this online training session. Thanks very much for joining us. This is the second one that we're doing in our business advice series with Valent. Valent have got some really good online training sessions that they've been doing. They've got like product ones, business advice ones, technical ones. So definitely check those out because they're really good. So keep an eye on their website and their social media. Today we're with Grant from Shake and Spear. Grant, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing, Joe?
Yeah, good. So what can we get a little bit about your background first, please?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Grant. I'm the founder and of Shake and Spear. We are a digital marketing company with a specialism in trades. So we build websites for people, help them climb the rank of Google, do online advertising, everything you might need to build your online presence. But as I say, with a specialism in trades. We've been working quite closely with trades over the last few years, gone to quite a few different trade shows, done this type of thing in person, would be doing this type of thing in person, but here we are today.
Yeah, so we did a session before, which was a bit more of a wider introduction. So if you haven't already, you can check that out on demand. So what sort of thing are we learning today?
So today we're going to be focusing on websites. So lots of people have got websites, a few people are on the fence about them, some people are vehemently against them. So we're going to be talking about how you can make the most of your website and how you can make the most of having an online presence through the form of your website.
Perfect. So there is the chat box here. So Grant's going to do his presentation. If you have any questions as they come up, feel free to put them in the chat box. We've got Gray from Shake and Spear as well, who's in the chat room. So if anything comes up, they can answer straight away. There is also, hello, there's also an ask a question button here, which is handier for us. That's more like a kind of Facebook thing where you can comment straight away underneath. But if you do have a question at any point, now is the time. There'll be a little Q&A at the end. And if anything comes up organically as Grant's going, he'll be able to say, oh, look, someone's just popped in about this. And here's the answer to this.
Yeah,
so without
absolutely.
further ado, I'll let you get on with it, Grant, if that's okay.
Yeah, cool. Let's go for it. And just to follow on from that, if anyone has a question which comes to them later on afterwards, then feel free to drop us a line and we'll go over the contact details at the end. Cool. So getting started, I've already gone over a bit about what we're going to do. So we're going to be covering, first of all, why should you bother having a website altogether? Working out what the right structure is for your website. Going over individual tips for each of the main pages that you should have, and talking about are you ever actually done with your website. Here's me. So as I said, I'm the founder of Shake and Spear. We do digital marketing for trades, as I've already gone over. So getting into it. So first of all, your website is just part of your online presence, but arguably it's the most important one. And the reason why we say it's the most important one is because generally speaking, everything feeds back into your website, whether that be your social media presence, your online ads, even a business card you send out, the signature in your email, everything has a link back to your website. And it's generally where people will end up going once they've started off. So it's worth making sure that we get it right. So should you actually bother getting a website if you don't already have one? Because lots of people say, I've never had use for one before, so why should I even bother? So we've got three main reasons why we believe that you should have one. The first one is that it legitimizes you as a business. Most people get their work through recommendations, word of mouth. That tends to be the biggest factor. But when people are looking for recommendations, they may go to somewhere like Facebook, they may just have a chat with their friend. The first thing that person is going to do when they've heard your business name is Google you. And when they go to Google and they find out about your business, they click on that link and it takes them through to your website. If you haven't got a website there, then people will, generally speaking, move on to the next person. Unless, of course, they're just going to give you a ring straight away. But most people will go ahead and Google you, especially the younger generations, which are coming up and beginning to purchase houses and do their own work. Next reason is that it simply gives a professional look to your business. Customers, generally speaking, nowadays expect businesses to have a website. And the reason why is because they want to be able to, at their leisure, go and explore your services, find out what you offer, see previous case studies, look at your reviews, and they're looking for one place to do that in, and your website is one of them. The final reason why is simply it's a promotional avenue for your business, and it gives you an opportunity to show up on Google or other search engines such as Bing, and it means that you can show off your services and tempt new business in. Now, obviously, it takes a while. If you get a brand new website tomorrow, you're not going to jump straight to the top of Google unless you use paid advertising. But without that website, you're losing an opportunity to gain in some new business. And over time, you will slowly climb the ranks of Google, and more business can come your way through your website. So now that we know that we should have a website, we're going to begin to talk about what a good website begins to look like. So starting with the basics, your site structure. So what are the main core pages that we believe that your site should have? Now, first of all, you're going to want to have a homepage. This is the first page that the majority of people will land on. And this is an overall general gist of your business. You'll also 100% want to have a contact page. This has got all your contact details on it where people can go. And we're going to go into detail of each one of these following this. We also recommend that you have services pages, which outline the individual services that you offer, case studies, and that could be part of your services, but a place where people can see previous work, and also an about page. And that's a page which is exploring more about you in detail, the personalization. So realistically, we recommend if you're starting off, a 5-page website is worth it. Now, is there any worth in having 1-page websites? Now, lots of people do go for 1-page websites, and we actually build 1-page websites as a foothold for people for free. It's a good starting point. And the reason why we believe it's a good starting point is simply because it gets you onto the journey to begin. You can put a lot of information into a 1-page website, but the reason why we recommend going for 5 pages is because that is 5 more opportunities for Google to see what you're doing and begin to put you into it. Afternoon, Chris. It means that you have more opportunity on Google and you're not putting all of your eggs in one basket with this 1-pager. Google tends to rank sites which have sort of more of a presence. So now we'll go into the actual nitty-gritty of it, as it were. So looking at your homepage, first of all, we're going to be looking at why should this person pick you. Your homepage is your opportunity for customers to make a quick-fire decision on whether or not they feel that you are the right fit for them. The easiest way, excuse me a sec. The easiest way to do this is to be as personal as you can. And that could be through pictures of yourself, it could be through pictures of your team, your logo, your branding, but also it can be through just doing something generally eye-catching. So we've got a few examples here of ones we've done. This one is for Craig Buckley, Plumbing and Heating. And Craig's got a nice, clean, clear website here. He's clearly showing that he is a professional. Is part of the Cascade Register. He's offering free estimates. We can see we can get different services, contacting, and he's got the contact details clearly at the top. Nice, clear, clean, gives people a generally good first impression. Slightly different one also further down the page, he's got a lot of different reviews, and these ones we can just click through nice and quickly. They're named, they're all different, they're personalized. These are great reviews, and we always recommend having your reviews on your homepage if you can, because people just like to scroll down and see them right there and then. You can also do something slightly different. This is Cole Plumbing and Heating in Bristol. They went for a bespoke video at the top of their page, which is really localized to Bristol. Contact details and contact form, each of the individual services, their accreditations, and then an opportunity to get an instant quote through lots of different contact details. Again, a nice, clear, good example of a classic homepage. Moving on to the contact page. Now here, we recommend that we keep this as simple as possible. Realistically, if people are going to your contact page, they just want information and they want it quickly. Now, this could be your current customers, or it could be prospective customers, or it could even be a supplier, or it could be anyone member of your team. People just need quick fire information to get hold of you. So we always recommend that you definitely have on there your office address if you've got it, your email address, and telephone numbers. Another option is to also have your social ones, because some people like to get in touch with you through the likes of Facebook Messenger or Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, those type of ones. But also we'd recommend putting in a contact form as well, which is a small form, a few boxes, everyone's used one before, but they are a useful way of people not having to leave your site, go into the email, copy an email address across, contact forms, just do it all for them. If you are willing to have mobile numbers on there as well, we recommend putting those on there, because people will more often than not go to the mobile number first rather than a landline, because they feel like they're able to get hold of you quicker, because you're more likely to be out and about rather than sat near a landline. Following the contact page, service pages. Now, this is where we would begin to move away from a one-page website model. And the reason why we do this is because of Google. As I mentioned earlier, you have more opportunity to rank with the more pages that you've got. Whereas with the individual service pages, you're able to tell customers exactly what they want to hear. Now, let's take, for instance, the two examples we've got on the right here. Both are boiler installation, boiler servicing, boiler repair, central heating repair, power flushing, bathroom installs, gas fittings. There's loads of different services that these companies do. Now, if we were to have all of that information on one page, and the customer is then having to scroll through and read lots and lots of information before they get to the actual service that they want. Now, you could mitigate some of that with headers, but we feel it's best to have individual pages for each one of those, meaning that if the customer scrolls down, if we have a look at the lower bubble there with central heating in the middle, you can see that there's clearly a button for each of those individual services. They can click through to it and have a page which has got information purely on on the service that they are after, meaning they don't have to wade through lots of, frankly, inappropriate and meaningless information for them in that particular instance. Especially if you've got a customer who's come to you through online advertising, that means that they are right at the position where they are willing to contact someone to engage their services. So we would recommend always having those individual pages. Also, as I've alluded to before, it does really help in terms of your SEO. So that's ranking on Google. Each one of those pages will begin to rank for a particular service. So let's say, for instance, you offered central heating in and around Lancaster. If you had a page which was about central heating and bathroom fitting and gas fitting and boiler servicing, Google's not really sure which one you are actually trying to rank for. Whereas if you had an individual page which is all about offering central heating in Lancaster, these are the individual parts that we can do, here are the areas that we serve, Google's far more likely to rank your website higher. One thing that we do also say is to consider including, now not your exact prices, because we totally understand that people do jobs on a quote by quote, job by job basis. That makes sense. But if you can include guide pricing, if possible, then customers, we found in our research, customers do appreciate it, because customers like to know that you are at least within their ballpark, and it helps them to know that they're able to potentially move forward with you as their technician. Another thing which you might have on each one of your service pages, or you could have it as an entirely separate section to it altogether, are your case studies. Now, case studies can be before and after, and these ones we find work absolutely brilliantly. And it's where you have to be quite methodical in your approach to jobs, whereas before you've even started, it's worth taking photos and worth taking note of the condition of the property before you even start. This means that you're able to show what was, and then clearly next to them, show them your work afterwards. And it's a really clear visual way of letting people know just how good your work is. You can see how poor it looked before and how excellent it now looks. Through that though, rather than just presenting a massive pile of photos, and on some sites where you see rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of photos, and it's really difficult to work out which one matches up to which one, we recommend doing individual pages about each one of the cases which you've had. It could even be down to each property or particular scenarios. So let's say, for instance, you have just installed a new central heating system and included a boiler installation on a 1930s typical semi-detached renovation. Now, you could do a case study which talks about that particular type of house, including some wording about it, so that it means that if other potential customers are coming to your site and they are in a similar situation, then they're going to see exactly the type of outcome which they could have. It might not be a similar style, but it gives them an idea of the quality of work which you're able to offer. Now, we say to include write-ups rather than just photos, because A, it helps people just understand exactly what the project is, rather than just saying renovate or installation London. You're able to say installation within a semi-detached 3-bed property in Southeast London with, and then you can go into full detail of the job. You could let them know roughly how long it might take. You could let them know, I mean, you might not want to go into cost because how long's a piece of string, but as much information as possible. That way, people are able to go back and they're able to see exactly what work you can do. So, the final page, which we believe you should have on your site, and this is an example from our page, is the About You page. Now, we feel that About You page only really work with personalization. People want to see who you are. And you can talk about your story. So talk about how you started, where you came from, how long you've been doing it for. You could even talk about why do you love working where you work. People who are getting you to come into their homes are living there, generally speaking, because they love living there as well. If you show that you're passionate about the area, it just comes across nicely and people like to see that. We also recommend, especially if you have members of teams who go out, and talk about who is in your team and who is going to be actually going to walk through the door to do that work. It just gives people a bit of reassurance that they know in advance who to expect. And it's just nice and helpful, even if it is a not particularly close-up picture of your face, there we go, even if it's uniform or your vans, it just lets them know who to expect when they turn up. And we find that people really appreciate that. In fact, About pages are almost always visited within a visit to a site when people are going to make a contact with people. So it's well worth having that. Definitely include photos. I know that not everyone likes to include photos themselves, but it is worth it. So that's generally the structure of your site. So we want to include a home page, we want to include contact page, service pages, and an about page. So that sort of covers the main structure of your site. Then we've got these 4 key points for the future. So we've lined up our website and we know that we want to have one. And these are 4 key points to remember going forwards. One of them would be to share your site. So spread the word. And this could even be just within your own network, within your own social media network, or within Twitter, within the industry. Spread the word, because the more people visiting your site, the more popular it gets with Google. And that's because Google likes sites that people clearly visit and clearly like to spend time on and see it. Also, through that, if you're able to share it and then friends are able to share it, and within industries, within networks, they're able to share it, simply more eyes equals more potential for work. So it means you're more likely to engage with other people. Next one is to update it. Now, websites need updates just like your phone does. So you'll occasionally get updates, snooze it, snooze it, snooze it, forget about it, and suddenly everything grinds to a halt. Same thing happens with websites. Now, if you've decided to go down something like the Squarespace or Wix route, lots of those updates will be done by yourself. Whereas if you're going down the self-build route, like Chris has mentioned here, you may need to go through the process of updating it regularly. Don't ignore them, or eventually everything will come to a grinding halt and it will break. And by break, we don't mean sort of completely fail, but it won't look right. It will begin to look messy. Some things may stop functioning altogether. So make sure that you regularly are going into your site and updating it. Number 3 is maintaining it. Now that sounds similar to the last one, but this is slightly different in so much that we mean don't ignore your site and just consider it as done. Lots of people do this. I've got a website and that's it. I just have a website and that's the end of story. We always recommend that you keep it fresh and make sure that you're adding to it. This could be a new job that's come in that you've got photos of, or a new case study that you've got. It could be that a new member of your team's come, you've rebranded your vans, you've got a piece of DIY information you might want to share. There's all sorts of stuff which you could share, and you can do that through either a blog, or you could add another page. You could just update photos on a particular page, but keeping it fresh is really helpful. It shows that you are still relevant, because if people come to a website and it was last updated in 2016 and it's now 2020, people are wondering whether or not you're actually still active. And B, it also helps with Google. Google likes fresh, updated content that comes regularly. One way around this, which is, I wouldn't use it as a replacement, but it's an additional string to your bow and it helps you not have to do it so often, is to embed social feeds if you are active on Facebook and active on Twitter and Instagram and so on. Most web builders or web designers will be able to implement this for you. Or you may be able to do it yourself. And you can actually have a miniature version of your Facebook or Twitter feed which automatically pulls through your latest information. And that will get pulled through and displayed easily for you. The final one of our 4 and one of our final slides is go ahead and do it. If you haven't already got a website, definitely go ahead and go for it, because having a website, it legitimizes the recommendations. It offers you a professional front for your business, and it promotes your business. And I mean, frankly, what's not to like about those 3 things? They're all fantastic. Just flashed up. And that is pretty much the core things from us. There's one thing which I wanted to say at the end is a bit of a sort of freebie setup. You're welcome to get in touch with us through the email or on the telephone number on the next slide, and we'll book a bit of time together and talk about it, talk about what you might need, offer advice. There's no obligation to any of this. We're just happy to share advice and help out. But if anyone did want to come and talk to us about our website or Google My Business Services, you can that code at the bottom and we'll give you 10% off any of our quotes. So there you go.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Grant. So everybody, if you do have a specific question that you want to talk about, now's the time to do so. If you pop it in the chat or pop it in the ask a question. I've got Grant, if that's okay for you.
Yeah, go for it.
So again, we kind of touched on this last time, and different people will be at different paths. Like Chris was saying, he's looking at building his own one. People might have built their website maybe 6 months ago and then not updated it. People might be looking to completely rebrand. So what's the best way for them to get started would be the first question.
Yeah, so you've got a few different routes. So there are the self-build ones, which are things like Wix and Squarespace, GoDaddy. I wouldn't recommend GoDaddy. Sorry, GoDaddy, if you're watching. But Wix, Squarespace, those type of ones, you can get started relatively easily. They're sort of drag and drop. But honestly, it's whether or not you have the time and inclination to do that, because lots of people start and never finish. And then find that in 6 months' time, a year, they're still paying 20, 25 quid a month for something that's not quite done. Another option is you're welcome to have a chat to us about setting up a starting point, a free one-pager that we offer. That's always a good start. Otherwise, if you wanted to just jump straight in at the deep end, I would always speak to a web designer first and see what you can get. But if you were not keen to jump straight into a website, I would, and we talked a lot about this in the last seminar, so I would definitely have a look there, is make sure you have something called Google My Business. Google My Business is a fantastic, completely free tool. It allows you to have a dot on the Google map, show up in some searches, get reviews, add photos. There's loads of stuff you can do for it. It's completely free. That would be our number one start point. Make sure you get into a Google My Business account.
Yeah, we'll pop a link in here, and I know that if you check out Shake and Spear on social media and on your website, that you do a lot more about the Google My Business advice as well, don't you?
Yeah, we do. We talk a lot about it as well. In fact, we've got a whole video series which outlines how to do it in step by step. So you could sit down, probably take about an hour out of your evening, maybe, or a weekend, afternoon, whatever, and just watch the YouTube video step by step, and you could follow along on your screen and have one.
So the other question I've got as well is we're coming up to the heating season. It's a really busy time for heating and plumbing engineers. So if they've got a website that they're happy with, but you mentioned the importance of keeping it updated and before and after pictures, which we do see, but are quite time consuming. Is that something that like an agency like yourselves could help them with?
Yeah, there will be lots of agencies, especially if you've had your website built with them, who will offer packages where you can do it. If it's just photo changes, most of them will probably just update them for you, just like that. It would just be a matter of taking the photos and getting them across. One thing that I'd recommend, even if you don't have a website now or you're not looking to update your site now, it's well worth getting into the habit of going to jobs, taking those pictures, making a little note in your phone, taking afterwards pictures, because even if you stick it up on your social, it looks great, and people appreciate it. And you never know, in 3 months, 6 months, a year's time, you might go, actually, I am ready to go, and then you've got this backlog of stuff that you can share. So yeah, highly recommend that. Even taking videos is really good. I saw a site the other day where someone did like a 30-second run through of a job after every single job. Just get their phone up and they're just recording it, and they talk about it and say, this is what we've done, we did it within here. I even saw someone on Twitter the other day just popped up and had a turn the camera around and film themselves with the customer. The customer was there saying, oh no, we love it, great work. That's a review, which is really powerful. So make use of your phones while you're out on jobs, 100%.
No, fantastic. And is there any other advice that you'd like to kind of end up with to say you should definitely do this? I know you said like jump in would be one of them, but anything else?
Yeah, jump in, and if you're going to have a go at building it yourself, don't be afraid to seek advice. There's tons of information out there on Google. If you just Google sort of best practices, web builds, and so on, there's lots out there. And yeah, I would just go ahead and do it. Just make sure I would definitely start off with Google My Business. Go out there, have a go at building the website if you want to. If you don't have the time, talk to someone who can. It won't cost you an arm and a leg. And yeah, that's it.
No, perfect. Thank you very much for your time, Grant. Thanks very much, everyone. As soon as we'll stop the broadcast, the chat and the ask a question will remain. And if you do have any questions that you want to follow up, the details are on there, or look at Shake and Spear on their website and on social media.
Cool. Thank you very much. Thank you, Phil, as well.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.